Men are very territorial. And JR, you said, should a man say something about his woman if he met her a certain way? Men are territorial, and when a man actually starts to care about you, he is protecting you. He's going to protect you more. Part of that protection means I don't want you to put yourself at risk for uncouth, disrespectful situations. So, for that, I'm going to try to protect you by having you present yourself better in a better light. But in the first place, you shouldn't be with a woman that you have to make into a proper lady. I mean, if you, just like King said, if you met her like that, then that's probably who she's going to default to be. And you're probably wasting your time trying to force her to act a certain way or look a certain way in front of certain people, when in the truth, later on, when she gets comfortable, upset, or what have you, she's going to default back to what you met her as. So it's better just find what is real, find a person who's really that way, instead of trying to make her present as something that she's not. The other thing is that image is everything. Image is everything, especially for ladies. For ladies, even like I said, being around men who are not your man, that messes up your image. Being in certain situations, being in places where ladies wouldn't dare find themselves, it messes with your image. Men see that. For men, they don't like to be embarrassed. And if you are out there dressing a certain way, you're putting an image out there, you're embarrassing your man. So men don't like to be embarrassed. Don't embarrass your man by looking like a sloot.
um, I do think that I'm more in tune to tell people I'm in tune with alignment, right? If you're in your 20s and maybe your early 30s, hopefully you outgrow lust by the time you've been in your 30s. Like, Lord, if you're still leading with lust, then you can't complain about the results you get, right? So if you're a fella and you know deep down inside that you're drawn to Shorty because she had most of her body exposed, then you check yourself for what you're drawn to and the results of leading with lust instead of leading with finding out whether or not there's compatibility. I think organically, women may desire to alter the way they dress because they know that they have a maturing, budding relationship with you. But that again is the kind of person you select, and you should be able to tell that by your willingness to show attention, their willingness to show attention. People like I can't. I'm sitting here trying to think like, was there ever a point where I had to ask my wife to dress differently? And I just can't. I can't imagine that an attentive partner is going to be need to be told. Like there's something off with the alignment if you have to tell your partner, "Hey, baby, put your titties away," or if the ladies have to tell the guy, "Pull your pants up to your ass. You're about to meet my father." Right? Like I don't even understand how things get to that point where you selecting that person to be your person. Like at some point they're supposed to know you. They're supposed to know like where you stand. Like if you met them in a lustful way, when all of a sudden you're switching up, you gotta realize that everybody now might switch up at your pace. And then you gotta figure out you can't force that person. You either it happens organically or you gotta separate on that. You gotta make some decisions. Mhm. But forcing somebody is crazy. If you met her dressed like that, that's what you liked then. If you mature to the point where you don't like it, then that's not the one for you.
Is there a difference the way between a wife dresses versus someone that's single? Is there a difference?
I think typically there is. I think um, if you're a traditional person, then you align with leaving something to the imagination. A non traditional person may put whatever type of bait on the fishing line they think they want to put on the fishing line in order to attract. So you just got to know, metaphorically speaking, what type of person it is that you're trying to, you know what I'm saying, link up with. Like if you want a person who's a lady in the streets and a freak in the bed, then you're not going to pay too much attention to the people who are already dressed like a freak in the streets.
All right, how
No,
you feel about this? Go ahead. Who was that?
that's
You
me.
go.
Embarrassment was mentioned. You know what else is embarrassing? Having a husband that says that he's really into conservative, he wants his wife to be conservative and this is what he's into. But then you see a lot of husbands under random IG girls liking their photos chronically, in the strip club every weekend, having multiple OnlyFans subscriptions. That's also really embarrassing because what happens is a lot of times women will curtail and change their look and their whole aesthetic because they're a wife. But I don't think that we put enough uh, focus on what the man is doing to act like a husband and not embarrass his wife, and to actually live up to this standard of, okay, now you're a wife. Well, now you're a husband. I won't embarrass you if you won't embarrass me. And a lot of the times those things, um, it's not the same respect put on it. And I think that a lot of times there are some men, not all men, that it's not that you don't dress conservatively enough, it's that they want to dim your light sometimes. The same thing that they were attracted to, they want to dim because they don't want other people to see what they saw when they were attracted to you to begin with. And I think there's something to be said about men who want to put a potato sack on you because they don't want anyone else looking at you. So there is a very thin line between someone wanting a woman to look like a wife and act like a wife when they're not acting like a husband, one, and two, someone wanted to dim your light versus enhance it.
You mentioned acting like a husband. Can you kind of paint that picture as far as,
Yeah.
yeah,
I
from your
think
opinion, what does acting like a husband look like?
I think a man just having in his mind, okay, is it, before I do this action, before I purchase this OnlyFans, before I sit up in the club and throw away all my disposable income on these hoes, as y'all put it, before I'm dropping down in the likes on all these random scantily clad women on Instagram or Facebook or whatever your social media of choice is, how will this make my wife feel? How will this make my, my life partner feel, my spouse, whomever you have in your life, whoever's important to you? So if you're asking her to change all these things and curtail her behavior, I hope that the men are coming with that same energy, and you're also being respectful and mindful and of how she feels.
I,
That's how a husband looks.
I think that's a very conflating argument. I hear you though. I do hear you. I think men should have a standard and carry it with respect. But I think that mixing those two is kind of dangerous. And the reason why is because there's double standards. They do exist. What may qualify a woman to become a wife, lifetime partner, a committed vessel, spouse, whichever, you meet that man's standards. That does not necessarily mean that you meet that man's lustful standard, eye standard, fantasy standard. And this is not gender specific because women can be in a whole relationship with a man that hits on every marker. He could be a deacon, a pastor, he could be a teacher, and she will still click and fantasize about Michael B. Jordan and Idris Elba and all these men that don't look nothing like her husband. So I think that it's a very disingenuous presentation to say that men should move a certain way. Now, I do agree on the respect factor. I don't think a man that has a family, a wife that he loves and respects, should be berating or bringing any shame or unnecessary shame to his relationship by his characteristics or how he moves throughout the earth. But to think that as a man and then having a wife that she now meets the final standard of his eye appetite, sex appetite, that's a fallacy. How he chooses to carry himself from that point, I do agree with you on that one. And I digress.